So, recently,
yes,
a report came out about Ubisoft from a gamesindustry.biz article.
Yep.
Saying, and I'll read the title for you just here. It says, illegal proceedings are kickstarted and internal sources point to the lack of accountability since reports of toxic culture emerged at Ubisoft last year. Quick rundown of the situation. Last year, Ubisoft got accused by many of their staff members that there was a toxic work culture going on within the company. It ranged from loads of things where people were just being general assholes.
Yeah.
All the way to sexual harassment
workplace
stuff.
bullying.
Yeah, workplace
which is
bullying.
no good.
A shitty work environment, places where people didn't feel valued, all the way up to sexual harassment claims and stuff like that. Some of those people were for community-facing people like Ashraf Ishmael, who got fired from his position. And some of them were executives, all the way at the top, including people like the right-hand man of Yves Gilmont, who is still currently to this day the CEO of Ubisoft. Since then, they haven't mentioned... Oops, my phone dropped there. Don't worry about that. Since then, they haven't mentioned anything that they're going to be doing.
Because they're going to be doing nothing, bro.
That's what this seems to be. They said that they were going to be doing internal investigations and taking the appropriate action for whatever's been going on.
Yeah.
The only direct acknowledgement that we've had of this was before one of the Ubisoft Forward events that were... pretty much a week after these allegations came out, Yves Gilmont took to Twitter to say that they won't be mentioning anything in the Ubisoft Forward event that's coming up because we're going to be focusing on it internally and we basically just don't want to take any responsibility for it.
In fairness, they did put a custom tattoo design in Valhalla.
They did.
In support of Whammons, who they respect.
They do exactly respect, and that's exactly what that
wasn't.
is right there.
That definitely wasn't a tattoo design that they already had worked up.
No.
And then just decided we'll use that one for this. It has everything relating to women. Oh no, it's just a tattoo that's in the game. There you go. It's just in there.
Exactly.
It's there.
I'm going to read a little bit from this gamesindustry.biz article, if that's okay. So it goes, since the wave of accusations targeting Ubisoft's toxic culture, which also pointed at serious dysfunctions in its HR department, the company has attempted to make changes, but the impact of these changes seem to be minimal so far, the publication reports.
Yep.
Director of HR, I'm not going to try and pronounce her name, Cecile Cornets, I think her name is like that, who has stepped down following the Ubisoft applications in July, has only just left the company.
At least they left.
A year later, right? That takes a long time, but at least they have left and what. But a year has taken for that person to leave. And they've been replaced by somebody who's been from Uber. But an elected representative of Ubisoft, their social and economic committee, said they don't expect anything to come out of these appointments that they're making in HR because most of the people that were involved in all of the HR complaints being covered up are still working in HR.
Obviously.
Only the head has been removed, and then everyone else who...
it's a Hydra.
Exactly.
I called it episode 1... WandaVision. It's always a Hydra.
Always Hydra right here. Goes on to carry on saying some of the men who were the heart of the harassment allegations are still in their positions, such as Florent Castellanac, is a French name I can't pronounce. He says, who is head of Ubisoft-owned Nado, who is accused by over a dozen employees for harassment. A union representative of management said that they are protecting him almost in his position. And another person, Hughes, of another department in Singapore, who stepped down in November, still works in Ubisoft. They just assigned him to another role within the company.
Yeah.
There was another bit I wanted to read here among some of the changes. There were 20 members. There is a perception by the people who work in there that the management want to just leave the crisis of summer 2020 behind because it represents a risk on the company's image of durability.
Yeah.
And apparently they did half a day of training on...
Oh, well, that made the difference.
A whole half a day of training on how to be better in workplace culture and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'll make all the difference, won't it?
And apparently that's it.
Yeah. That'll do.
Now, Ubisoft is a terrible goddamn company. And it appears, based on this, that they are doing absolutely nothing to change. I personally believe, and I'm sure you'll believe the same way because we haven't spoken about it, we leave it for the podcast to discuss this side thing.
Yeah.
But me, the four pillars, people like James, Ethan, Tyler, and George, all believe that Ubisoft should be held accountable for everything that they're doing right here. We gave them the benefit of the doubt to say that they were going to do something about it once it was highlighted.
Yep.
Even though it shouldn't wait for it to be highlighted in order for you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's proof that they have done the bare minimum, enough to try and make it seem like something's happened, but nothing has actually changed in there. We believe that Ubisoft should be held accountable and that we should no longer support them in anything that they've done. At least me and the four pillars, and you can tell me if you agree with that as well. They've started, James, Tyler, Fizhy, and I've started a hashtag saying hold Ubisoft accountable. You guys can share that. You guys can go check out their videos as well. I'll link them in the description. Because what they're doing, where they're just like, we'll just do the bare minimum, brush it under the carpet, is proof that Ubisoft is a terrible company and that they shouldn't be supported and they shouldn't be in game development as they are right now. Give me your personal thoughts because I've spoken a lot right now, and then I'll talk about some other stuff afterwards.
Welcome to 2015.
Oh, yes. We've gone back in time.
Before we knew how disgusting the company was internally, they were already a bad company. And unironically, I don't play AC for a good reason, and that's because I do personally know the AC community guys who have complained that since about AC2, they haven't made a good game. So you're talking 10 plus years across, 7 titles in total?
Yeah, something
Is
like
that right? Of just continually degrading product. That alone should have been enough for people to say, this company doesn't care, this company is no good. Like, why will people do it for Bethesda, for BioWare, but no one's willing to say it for Ubisoft?
Right, that's a good point.
That's before we know all this disgusting stuff.
Yeah.
My concern is now that it's too far past the post, which is that most people, if you bought Valhalla and didn't immediately return it, it's not that you're part of the problem, but obviously you're scum and you should. No, I'm joking. Look, if you bought Valhalla and didn't immediately return it, but felt underserved by the game, that is exactly the sort of thing that goes on inside the company as well.
Yeah.
Which is that people just get used to things. You just get used to the fact that that you love AC games for a good reason, but they haven't been what you loved for a while. But you love AC games, you play AC games. And that's what happens inside workplaces. Like, oh yeah, I want to be a games dev. Oh, I made it to Ubisoft. They make some really good games, AAA titles. And then, but it's a bit of a rough culture and it's a bit of a hard work environment, but it's game dev at the cutting edge stuff. Like, what did you expect? And then this stuff just goes unnoticed, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it managed to go. And I don't think you're going to see anything happen until Yves is gone. Because if you think...
That's the crux of the issue right
whether or not he was like involved, if you think he didn't know, let's say he doesn't know, still part of the problem. Because the fact is that kind of culture was allowed to go on under his nose. People felt secure enough in doing it, and there was a culture that grew up underneath him whereby these people were allowed to be protected.
He was either complicit, he knew about what was going on and let it go on and protected people, or he was completely negligent and this whole thing went under his nose with his right-hand man right there as well involved in it.
I actually think the second one's worse. Because I can at least understand a villain. Exactly.
You're evil and you're trying to make money. Yeah. You're a company. You're a suit. We get that. But you should still step down. The second one, however, you're so completely...
just blind
to what's going on right under your nose.
Right.
Way worse.
Yeah. So the only way for this to happen is... and look, if you bought the game, if you bought Valhalla and liked it, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I really want people to enjoy good games. But as a company, I would now, let's say you loved Valhalla and you expect that the next title they bring out is you're going to love as well. Buy it secondhand. Other people are going to buy it. Other people don't care. Just do your best to make sure your money never goes to Ubisoft. That's the only way you can really do it. I don't think they care what goes out on Twitter. Like, if you think that that this now is going to be enough of a shitstorm for that, they don't care. They don't care. They didn't care about Ashraf. They didn't care when it came out. The fact that they did nothing for the Ubisoft Forward, the fact that Yves could have come out and said there's been a lot going on and it's not appropriate and we're doing our best to counter it. And I needed to take this moment while I had all of your attention to say, we know and we're correcting it. And it's going to, whoever was involved, it's going to be brutal. We're coming after you. But now let's do something a bit more lighthearted. Let's get to our product
That's all it would have
that
taken.
you're here for. That's all it would have taken, but they didn't. They ignored it. The only way you can do this, make any impact at all, is to make sure your money never sees their hands. Even if you do buy an AC game, buy it secondhand. I would prefer you go to the scalping CEX companies out there, right? That buy consoles and try and scalp that way.
Yeah.
Do not let your money touch the hands of Ubisoft. Do not buy DLC. Do not buy microtransactions. And do not buy firsthand their new titles. The game's still going to... If the game's good, which I don't think, but if the game is good, it's still going to be good 2 weeks later when someone sells it to get their money back.
Yeah.
Right? And pre-owned is fine. Like, I've got a bunch of pre-owned games. They're fine.
And that way you have a clear conscience as well, knowing that you didn't support people like this that are not doing anything because they did. Honestly, the reason why they're not doing it is because they don't feel like they did anything that wrong.
Yes.
As long as all they see is that, what was the end result? The money? Okay, that's cool. It's fine. I don't care. So you will have a clear conscience knowing that you didn't support those people.
If it was convenient, I would recommend you pirate the games, but pirating games is actually really difficult.
Yeah, and then you have to worry about patches and stuff like that. So it's a bit thing like that. But I mean, in this case, if you feel like you want to take on that responsibility, go ahead and do that.
I mean, I'll say this. Sometimes movies or anime or whatever come out and you can't get the official release. So the only way to get it is to sail the seven seas. But after the fact, knowing you enjoy something, you go out and like, I'll often buy like the manga, which is a much better way of supporting the creator.
Yeah.
They get a much bigger share of manga sales than say like from Crunchyroll or something watching stuff.
Yeah.
If you know the way that companies that you like and don't like make their best revenue,
use that
to support them and use it to hurt them.
Yeah.
But they don't care that you're going to make like a hashtag frick Ubisoft, or I assume there's hashtags. I don't know. There's
one hashtag that James has come up with, and it will at least spread the awareness of what's going on and that the fact that we gamers have had enough, so we can try and get people to... The hashtag is to get more people to understand what's going on.
The hashtag's for us.
So we can then tell people to not spend more money.
Exactly.
Otherwise, there's no way to like spread that sort of widespread message.
The hashtag is for us, is for the gamers, the consumers. Ubisoft are going to see it and they don't care.
They don't care.
They put it this way. They didn't care about sexual harassment in their company. They do not care about what we, the audience, think on Twitter.
No.
Right? They don't care. They don't care about people.
They're only going to care what that hashtag is going to do when it reaches all of us, the people.
They care about the money.
When we don't spend the money at the end of the day.
They care about the money. And unfortunately, there's no way of like making them know the reason you didn't buy the product.
Yeah.
But if enough people don't buy the product, they will know.
Then they'll be like, well, let's think about this. Why didn't we? Let's ask someone a question. I did say one thing on Twitter, and I want to say this because maybe one person will listen to this afterwards if you're one of these people. And I feel like you need to listen to this. You need to have this message said to you. I'm not saying this with hatred. I don't hate you, but you guys need to know that you are part of the problem with this. So people that bought the game, fine. You were under the impression that they were going to change. Fine. You can't take back your purchase now because it's done. It's done and dusted. Leave that in the past. But there were people out there who were actively supporting Ubisoft after these allegations came out without any evidence of them ever doing anything after that. And you guys are part of the problem. I'll read out what I wrote on Twitter so it's like no confusion whatsoever. I said...
Make sure you include all the typos,
All the typos, because I'm sure there is some in there. I said... For a moment, I did feel bad for those people who continue to support Ubisoft, all while Ubisoft should have been putting things in place to change the toxic work practices they are being accused of. But I don't feel bad for you. It's your actions that caused this because you supported them, right? It says, to them, it looks like you guys have agreed to forget and forgive everything they've done, all because you're excited about the next microtransaction-filled ripoff of a game they put out. You guys are enabling it, pure and simple, and it's just so we're clear. And I also put down, I'm talking specifically to those people who ignored all of the issues and are praising them, not to those who wish they could be better for the sake of their favorite franchise, like for the people who bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla who wanted that way. You guys know who you are. And I also put down, and I didn't want to, again, I didn't mean this with like malice or anything like that. I put down that tattoo of the Assassin's Creed Sisterhood because I know the intent behind that hashtag and that tattoo. You guys wanted it to mean us women are represented in this game, in the gaming community, who are fans of Assassin's Creed.
As devs, as players, as the audience.
I know that's what you guys meant.
That's not what it meant to them.
To them, they saw it as an opportunity to get in and to show that they are better than what they've been doing inside. And they exploited you. And you guys...
It was a lollipop. It was shut up, stop crying.
Exactly. And as a person who liked the movement, I saw through the bullshit, as you guys should have seen as well. But you took the opportunity to get your limelight and you sold it for this, for the suffering of other people. You guys enabled what happened in Ubisoft. I'm only saying this so you guys get the harsh reality of what happened. Don't be like this in the future. Realize that companies don't care about you. They don't care about whatever hashtag you make on Twitter.
We're waiting for Sony to do this as well. We mean it. All companies. All companies.
They don't care at all.
All of them.
Always hold their feet to the fire until you see the change. When you see the change, then praise them for it. When they do something, then praise them for it. You guys gave up because they gave you a fucking tattoo.
A little graphic in a game that didn't respect your time. But this is the thing. I'll take weirdly, I'm going to take a gentler stance.
Go on.
Which
sorry I went too harsh, but go ahead.
If I'm all for savagery, bro. I'm all for, but I think this is an easy win for us. The content sucks and it's priced too high. None of those armor kits are worth it.
No.
You see what they do to bring in, they make XP so much harder to gain than give you an option to buy it, right? This is an easy out. Just don't buy it. It isn't worth it. There really is not much in that game that's worth it. Compare it to other games. Compare it to other games that people always talk about. I mean, look, you just played Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Seriously, how much better is it? You've played probably about the same amount of Valhalla as you have Mass Effect now, right? About that.
About that, yeah.
What do you think?
Night and day. And as well, knowing that Mass Effect didn't have any microtransactions coming out. Granted, it was a different time where microtransactions weren't a thing. DLC separate, that's additive to it. But the amount of story, the amount of writing and world building that's gone into Mass Effect in comparison to just volume of content that they've given in Valhalla, which isn't even coherent. It's just they've thrown lots into it. They've thrown lots of stuff into it.
Valhalla feels like it doesn't respect your time, but Mass Effect does.
It's not good. It's not quality. It's just shit.
It's an easy out. They aren't bringing you anything that's really... Look, if you love the game and you love the DLC, like I'm happy for that you didn't have your time wasted. But for the majority of people, they don't respect you or your time, and that is obvious just within the product, right? Just stop buying it. Yeah. Just stop buying it because it alone isn't good enough. It isn't good enough. And like we've said, look, if you really do need it, get it secondhand. Cool, do that. But if you're doing that, maybe branch out a bit. I feel like a lot of AC guys really play just, for the most part, AC. They're heavy on the AC. Experience some of the other titles that are out there that are well regarded. Because I'm telling you, there are some gems that you are missing. You have not played Mass Effect. You wouldn't have played it until the remaster came out. But the fact that it exists, the only real difference is graphical, realistically, and how quickly it runs. But you would never have known. Yeah. Right?
There's probably games that you guys would never have known.
There are a bunch of games like that. And not only PlayStation exclusive. Like Mass Effect was not a PlayStation exclusive. Yeah. Right? There are a bunch of third-party games that are out there that are absolutely worth your time, that will scratch that itch as well.
Yeah, get into BioShock, get into The Witcher, get into all these other games. There's so many things out there.
There really are.
And crucially,
you're not going to be... stories. Like one of the things that I feel most hurt about knowing so many of the AC community and liking so many of you, obviously none of the four pillars, they all suck.
They all suck, yeah.
And nobody that's part of the four pillars community.
And the guild, the mentors guild,
Right.
yes, all that, but they all suck, yeah.
None of them, but everybody else. One of the things that hurts the most, because I love a good story, is knowing that all of you have like little headcanons and fan fictions and stuff of how it should go, what you would like to see done next. And at every single turn, they underperform in the story.
Yeah.
They underperform for the characters, and they underperform going forward every single time with this incredible stuff backing it up. Incredible stuff. Like, you think on the Four Pillars podcast, they spoke about like what they would do. James spoke about his ideal like a Xiaojun game.
Yeah.
With so much passion, it sounded like an incredible story, an incredible character. Where is that? Where is that? It isn't there. So at every turn, there's just another tick for why you shouldn't be giving them your money. And I think it's an easy win for you. Stop giving them your money. Look, until they change, and they might well change. And then this will be a black mark on the name of Ubisoft, but it'll be a different Ubisoft, and they'll overcome it.
Yeah.
They won't change, but you know what I'm saying.
At the very least as well, if you do not buy their games and they are forced to change, then at least you can hold your head up higher to say that you were part of the reason why your favorite franchise was revived or became better, or you helped make the gaming community better because you didn't directly fund toxic people like this.
Yeah, imagine there's a world where there's a world where the next DLC or the next whatever bombs.
Yeah.
And they take note and say, okay, well, like I'm hoping Microsoft have done with their report on The Last of Us 2 and these new titles. Do they go back and they look at the numbers and they say, look, of like completion rates way higher for these early games. Well, what did we have? Well, what was the recipe? Let's go back to that. Let's forget. Look, we've been trying to emulate The Witcher 3 for 6 games now, however many it is. We haven't nailed it. Even CDPR couldn't nail it. Let's go back to what we do.
Yeah.
Let's cap off Enzo Al Dente's story, right? Let's make a Chow Mein title. Look, do Xiaojun where there's no male version.
Yeah.
It's just Xiaojun. And she goes to wherever the frick she goes. She sounds Chinese. I assume China.
I think it's like China or Japan or something. I don't know too much about the system.
Also,
about the thing, so.
By the way, ancient China, an incredible place to set an AC game. Like, that is the setting. The only other one would be, let's say, Japan. But that's already been done and better than you've done.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Right, Ghost of Tsushima did it better. And they're probably going to do a mainland Japan one next. You don't want to go head-to-head with that. Do Xiaojun, do ancient China, make an actual strong female lead that's strong, not because she's female, but she's strong and she happens to be female. Yeah. No one cares what's between their legs. No one cares.
It'll be true to that character and you'll be able to set yourself apart from other people because you've made something great.
But again, at every tenure they say, oh, women don't sell. But the female Ivar is our canon lead. Well, which is it?
It's our canon, but we're only going to mention that to the people who are really asking the question. We don't want people to know.
Right.
It's not. No. It's not on our front of our box. No. We won't put it on the front of our box because that doesn't say we won't.
But again,
it's the male one. That's
again
whatever sells. Gets
the female Ivar is our canon lead. Is a lollipop. It's a here, shut up, stop crying, and it was to both. It was to two people. It was to the people that were upset, like gamers that know that women don't sell as bullshit. Yeah, that's on its face bullshit. Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, that's a recent one. Forget Lara Croft. Forget Samus Aran. Forget all these female characters. But it was also to like sort of like virtue signal. Oh, look, we care about the women. We're despite the atrocities going on within the company in real life, and at every point never actually doing it because. And this was your next telling sign. Dialogue doesn't change. Romance options don't change. No. Mass Effect, you can't romance Garrus, who's a great romance, by the way, but you're a male.
Because that plays male shepherd.
Garrus is straight, because that's his character.
Meaningful way.
There you go.
Done back then.
There you go. Right? Why... None of the dialogue changes if you're male or female. None of the romance options change if you're male or female. Nothing changes if you're male and female, to the point where they phone in the dialogue so that it's grey. It never has any passion to it because it has to always fit.
It has to fit both and it has to fit everything. Guys, the main takeaway from this, don't support any Ubisoft titles from here on out if you really want to make a difference. If you want to make a difference in gaming, it will be a massive win for us gamers, for us to, for once, because we don't get these many opportunities to do this kind of stuff, but it would be great if we could use our collective power to actually change, to make something positive in terms of something we're not going to get at the end of the day. This doesn't result in our game being made. It results in people who are working in the gaming industry, part of us, part of the people who make our games, will be able to live and work in a safe environment, in a good environment, and then hopefully they can produce even better games that will come down the line. Hopefully we can be a part of that. Hopefully we can make something like that. James and the guys are sharing the hashtag Hold Ubisoft Accountable. I urge you guys to do the same. Go check out their videos. Links will be in the description. And that'll be hopefully good, something we can do.
I think the main takeaway here is this is actually a positive message, which is we have a say, and it comes in the form of our currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Don't support things that you don't agree with, and do support things that you do agree with.
Yeah.
Like the Justice League and the Snyder Cut. We're big fans of that. So we're buying the steel case, we're buying the stuff, and we're watching it on paid services to get the numbers up because it's stuff that helps support it and show that this is where our money and our attention is.
Yeah.
And in the same way, we're not buying things. You can't do it for everything. Look, maybe you hate a giant corporation, but they're the only corporation that sells food in your town. Then you're going to have to,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But if you have the opportunity, do your best to vote with your money, and you can. So support the things that come from companies that you appreciate. Support the things that do what you appreciate, and don't support those that don't take you seriously.
Agreed.
Whether it's gaming, movies, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's actually a positive message, because you can hopefully change stuff, or at least go to sleep knowing that you didn't fund and I'm going to say it, Yves Gilmont and his campaign of terror.
He needs to get the hell out, brother. Apparently as well, he hired one person who got fired. So he hired one person to replace the person who got fired, and it was his cousin.
That's not nepotism at all, right?
That's great right there. Let's kick it.